Welcome back to another episode of the Fabric of America podcast. I'm Melissa Otto, owner of DeMellis Atelier. Don't try to interrupt me.
I know. I was like, oh, God.
For that lip smack.
Yeah, just hit me on the back
All
of the
right,
head.
who are you?
Yeah. If you allow me, my name is Matthew Banover, owner of Bards.
And who do we have with us today?
Oh, my God.
Introduce yourself. We're so excited to have you.
Hello. I'm Barbara Caruso of AvantGarde Design. I have the lovely title of Chief Dreamer.
Ooh.
I saw that on your Instagram handle, and I saw that it goes back and forth between, I think, what your personal profile and your professional profile.
Yes.
I thought that was a really cool
Thank you.
title.
That is,
Well done.
I love that. Wow. How have I not seen that?
You're not
Oh
paying
my
enough
On the
attention.
business card, too.
What? Oh, my gosh. All right. I
Yes.
love that so much.
Thank you.
So I got a lovely text from Barbara a couple days ago that was like, will my outfit be okay if it's not all made in America? I was like,
of course.
just don't come.
Oh, man. Don't ever listen to Matt.
And what did I send you back?
Yeah. Oh, what did you send me back?
The dinosaur from,
Yeah, that's right.
and I was like, not the mama.
Yeah, that's right. Good. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was
I was
hoping
like,
you were
okay.
going to say
Yeah,
that.
it was
I was
awesome. It was
hopeful. All right.
awesome,
So we're all friends here.
We had a recent, the three of us had a recent group text that was only gifts.
Yeah, just back and forth. That was
That's the
perfect.
only
Funny.
way we communicated.
That was
and
quite
we were in
funny.
a fight. Yeah, it was
Potato,
pretty,
potato.
it
You
was
say
pretty
fight, I
perfect.
say bonding, but
yeah, exactly. So tell us about your outfit that you wore today.
So my outfit is, I have these jeans from Old Navy. I've had them for probably about 5 years. They're my absolute favorite. They're like that boyfriend fit.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is the hole just keeps like kind of getting bigger sometimes because I forget about it and I go to like stick my leg in. You know,
that
you,
too.
You have, you have to do like the ballerina toes, like when you go in.
Yep. Instead,
and then
you just
and then it's just like, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And my blazer is from Target
Okay.
and tank top, same thing. And then of course my sneakers are Nike.
those are beautiful.
Yes.
I literally, we hadn't even met yet, and I was like, I love your sneakers. They're so awesome.
Thank you.
They're very
Love the balance of color, like the
Yes.
black.
I feel like I'm like that, like I say basic, but classic. I'd like to rock the jeans with like a basic tee. Like that's just like
I
my
think
style.
perfect.
Like a little bit of like The Rock and Steve Jobs mixed together.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
Oh,
it.
yeah, that
Okay,
is very
okay.
nice. It's also
here for
very
it.
like millennial. Just
Yeah.
we're just all about.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Yes, no, that is definitely
Period.
your thing.
I'm leaning in.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you got? I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm going to call this my fuxedo shirt. I
Okay.
literally just came up with that about 10 minutes ago because it's kind of a tuxedo shirt, but
Honestly, when you first said it, I was like, "Who's Cito? What do you do?" I was like,
Fuxedo.
"Why Foxito?"
fuxedo, like
Yeah,
tuxedo.
gotcha.
So it's kind
Foxedo.
of this very fuxedo. I like fuxedo better.
Me too.
Thank you. It's kind of a tuxedo style
Yeah.
white shirt. It's got little frilly frou-frous. It's like a raw cut panels. So this is from DKNY. I believe it's from their Pure collection, which was like when Donna Karan was like thinking of sub brands after DKNY, from Donna Karan down to DKNY, they did a Pure line, and it was like this yoga inspired, like a lot more like loose fitted,
Yeah.
longer style tuning top. So this top is actually really long, but it has like cuts up the side. So I kind of did a half tuck stitch, and it's got the little roll up
Ebenezer
like
Scrooge vibes.
sure, I'll go with that. Yeah, if you say so. I'll lean in. And then the little you roll up the cuff of the shirt and the tab.
Yes.
Is this considered a camp thing?
No.
That's what I thought.
Camp
Okay.
collar. Camp has to do with the collar and the front of the shirt.
Oh,
not the
excuse
sleeves.
me. Okay, fine. Well, it's got the rolled up sleeve with
Learn
the
your
tab,
place.
keeping it a little cash. That's why it's a fuxedo shirt.
Yes.
But I wore this great Fucci also. It's all the F's today.
Yeah, exactly.
F-bombs. This Fucci, fake Gucci pin brooch situation. This was another
I like that.
internet file. Like, I didn't go searching for this. This found me. And I'm like,
You're like, okay, I have to buy
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's cute. Like,
Yeah.
it's real absurd.
Yeah.
So I don't wear it that much, but I feel like its only place is to be right in the middle of my neck.
yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
So there we go.
Where would someone else put that?
Maybe on like a jacket lapel?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, they don't.
Or like
do
does a closure on a blazer?
fashion.
I don't know.
That's
But I like it
ridiculous.
here. So that's
Yeah.
what I did. And then my pants are Ralph Lauren. They have a stirrup because probably like a year and a half or 2 years, no, probably like 2 years ago now, I read like a thing that was like stirrup pants are back, and I was like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And I found them in one place only, and that was the Ralph Lauren website. So I bought them. Stirrups. They have a stirrup. And so then, of course, with my Fucci, I had to wear my Gucci shoes, which are for real, but they're from Poshmark. I think maybe I've talked about them in the past. I don't remember, but I own 2 pairs of them because I bought one and they're so fucking comfortable.
Yeah.
And I work with, like, I wear them for weddings and working all day.
Yeah.
And because they've like been out in the rain and been out in the mud and the dirt and whatever, I bought a second pair just to like ice
For
them.
nice.
Yeah, like to keep them all cool. So these I had like resold. If you guys watch us on YouTube, you can see I had the sole put on from the cobbler. They like shined them all back up and whatnot. And then I actually worked a wedding out in the rain again. So they're just going to keep
back.
Keep cycling through. But anyway, that's my fit.
Awesome. Well, stirrup pants. I wonder why men have never had stirrup pants.
They probably have at some point.
Yeah, well, like Attila the Hun and like,
I mean, maybe.
You know, like I don't, but we had like assless chaps and stuff. Like,
yeah, you guys really took the cake.
Yeah, you guys just went all out.
Yeah,
I would love some stirrup pants.
Yeah, 8-year-old me is really envious right now because I
have no boundaries at
What's
this point.
the benefit of having that other than going
I have
to
no
war
idea.
quicker?
They like,
I don't know.
I think it's just like they don't roll up.
Yeah. I mean, maybe back in the day, like these came, like stirrups were what, from like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So maybe, it was like people were wearing their high socks underneath and shit was getting weird. I don't really know. We'll have to Google that. Shit was getting weird.
It was the 90s.
I don't know. So now
time.
it just keeps them down. Now it's just an obnoxious, absurd fashion.
That is awesome.
I don't know. Thanks.
Well done. All right. The rest of your Fugazi outfit looks good. All right. So my outfit. So I am pretty much head to toe Bards. So this is one of my favorite blazers that I made. This was based on what Bruce Wayne wore in Batman the Animated Series, which was my favorite show growing up. And he always wore a double-breasted tan sport coat, and I was like, I need to make one for myself, but I didn't want it double-breasted. So I did a single-breasted, but also the inside of it, I did
cool. You have the cool lining.
Covers from my favorite episodes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this has been
neat.
10 years in the making. I've been thinking about this. I mean, technically since 1992 when the show aired, but yeah, so this is my jacket that I wear almost all the time. It fits me the best, and I feel like, as ridiculous as it sounds, like when I feel like nervous, like this is like my speaking jacket.
I like that.
I wear
it's a comfort
this,
thing. Yeah,
and I'm just like, Batman's got my back.
I was just gonna say, you get that Batman like
that energy.
I just feel like, fuck yeah, like I'm the guy with the Batman jacket on. Like these people, exactly. Yeah. So then this shirt is a French cuff shirt I made for myself. I did like the rounded club collar. I wanted to go like a little bit more like Peaky Blinders on this one. Yep. Very high up collar. Did the circle monogram, which always gets a lot of attention. Nice. And then the pants are the first pair of pleated pants that I actually made for myself in 4 years. Right? I do. Yeah, these are my first pleated pants I made for myself with Bards. It's fun getting used to like the room, you know, like all the roominess. I'm like, there's so much room for activities in here.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah. So it's very interesting getting used to that. And then I've got my Bob's Burgers socks on, and then my Magnani shoes, Magnani handmade in Spain. And then I've got my bracelets, one from the always busy mama and one from my niece. So yeah, that's everything I got.
All right, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done with you. You're off. We're mute.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us, what is it that you do and what brought you to this point? Like, how'd you get started?
Yeah. So what I do is branding services, graphic design. I kind of fell into the whole umbrella of like just creative services because I truly enjoy having that creative side and embracing it and just kind of being able to help other people as well. How I fell into it. So I actually had a job as an administrative assistant at a real estate company.
I've been in real estate too, my friend.
Yeah.
I actually like loved it. Not being the admin though.
Yeah.
But they found out that I had a marketing degree and they were just like, hey, we have an opening. You're coming over. And I was like, okay, sure. And I had to learn how to do some of the designs because for my role, I was managing and I was marketing all of the luxury homes. Mm-hmm. So I was working with these agents, managing their budgets, and then having to create the ads for their homes in like these magazines.
Yeah.
So I kind of just dove right into it. And then from there, I started loving it and learning so much. And I had great coworkers that were like, yeah, learn this, do that.
Super encouraging.
Like so encouraging and supportive. And so I started kind of like connecting with some like of the smaller local businesses that I would frequent, like a tanning salon. I don't do that anymore.
No judgments. No judgments.
And I just asked if I could help them with, like brochures or flyers. And this was like way before the days of like Facebook and like social media really being big. Like I'm probably aging myself, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I just kind of really put myself out there. I asked people, I was like, can I help you with this? Can I do this for you?
And the hustle began.
Yes.
Yes. And then my cousin was getting married and she found out that I was learning design and she was like, hey, can you do my wedding programs in like the day of paper? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And from that point on, I actually spent 10 years in the wedding industry doing wedding invitations and day of paper. And I absolutely loved it.
What did you say?
Day of paper. Yeah. So
never heard it called that, but I love that.
What is that?
Think of like the ceremony programs, your table numbers, your escort cards.
They do like
the
a menu
menus.
On the table.
Yeah, all of that, like your fine goods there for paper.
Wow.
When I first started, though, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I asked, I think like an old friend that was getting married. I was like, oh, can I do this for you? She was like, yeah, I would love that. She's like, I don't even know where I would go. I made no money on that.
Yeah.
I made no money. I probably paid her in the end to use me.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that I was able to learn so much about printing methods, paper styles, and I've always loved paper. I've been that girl that like, I love cards. I love note cards. I love stickers. I would hoard them. Like
Let's unpack this.
I don't know if we really want to unpack it.
I don't know. I think the boy in the room doesn't understand.
What?
But it's like the tactile, right? Like it's just like, how heavy is the cardstock? What's the texture on the paper? I love when you get a nice piece of cardstock and the print on it is like a little elevated.
Yes.
Like,
you guys are like American Psycho when he's got like the business card and he's like freaking out.
Really lying.
Yeah, Batman to feel safe.
Literally, like American Psycho. He's like, check this card out. That's called Braille or like they're like
the
going to the eggshell.
Yes.
And it's just like, it's fucking gorgeous.
It really is.
Relatable.
It really
so
is.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
when did that love of paper begin?
Probably when I was hiding under the tables at birthday parties with my cousin, stealing a napkin and a paper plate and keeping those for like memories. Like, I don't know why we did that. We were so weird.
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, I got a good one here.
Like, we would literally like grab them and like hide under the table and be like, okay, we got it. Like, what did you get?
Your mom finds your memory chest like, it's filled with cutlery and like random.
I don't even know. I'm pretty sure when we moved houses, I probably ended up having to throw all that out. But it was really, I don't really know why. But
some of us are like stealing booze from our parents. You're stealing their fine linens. You're like, feel this.
I'm like, this napkin is so cute. I need to have it. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to keep it.
I mean, I get some of that to the point like I will lose my mind if I sit at a restaurant and there's like a heavy knife.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Oh my Lord. I will just like stop dinner, make sure everybody's paying attention to the weight of this knife. Or at what's the name of the dress shop in Darien? A Little Something White.
Yes.
They have these doors that are so heavy.
Oh, they're heavy.
Oh,
okay.
So I just want to go through these doors all day. The way they like
tactile,
slide.
It's the experience that you're getting from it. It's the same thing. Like you with a knife at a restaurant, it's me with a menu. Like when I look at a menu,
something in you,
and like just sometimes even like the style of paper they use, the type, like that I geek out on.
This is so
I take
human.
pictures of it.
I fucking love it.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm weird.
That's
so
amazing.
Keep going.
Yes.
Tell us everything.
So while I'm no longer in the wedding invitation space, my love for paper is still there and design. And I was fortunate enough, probably about halfway through, I did that for 10 years. So halfway through, I actually connected with Erin Infantino of Simply Gorgeous by Erin, and she needed like a new logo back then. And I worked with her, and I fell in love with the fact that I was able to create something that meant something for her as well, and that represented not just her, but her business and what she stood for. And that just opened the door for me to really want to connect with other small businesses. So I did a little bit more work. And then I want to say in 2019, I was kind of like, at that point where I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore, if I really wanted to stay in the wedding space or if I wanted to pivot out and do more branding and graphic design and web stuff. And at the time, my brother and I were kind of like partners, and he was just so focused on like getting married and like, starting a new family. I was like, all right, we're good. Like, let's close it down. And if anything, I'll do something myself. Yeah. And then I kind of took like a little bit of a hiatus just for like health reasons. And I freelanced and I worked for like the gym that I was going to, doing like a lot of her marketing, social media. And from that point, it's like it clicked again for me. I was like, yep, this is exactly what I want to be doing. I want to be helping people market their business, but also create the experience that people are going to have with this business.
I love that.
And that all starts with your branding, but it also starts with you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have you, what's your business?
Especially in a small business.
Correct.
We're all defined by who we are.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, it just proves that there's humans behind the business. Right. And I think that when it's a smaller business, you're able to connect with those businesses a little bit more and like a deeper level. And the fact that I was able to help small businesses, whether it was small or big, just having an impact, that just made me feel like full of joy. Yeah. I was just like, this is awesome. Like, yep, this is what I want.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, Jesus. So wait,
straight to it.
Yeah. Let's dive into like, where did that come from? The desire or the insight into people? Like, how were you able to isolate what their voice is? Or like, how were you able to enhance what they think they should do? Because I feel like that's something that, we can connect with you, is that there's what somebody says they want to present and then what they actually want to present. Right. And we have to kind of read between the lines. Like, where does that start for you?
It starts with actually listening to not just what they're saying, but also what they're not saying.
Yeah.
And also what they're sharing, what they're doing. And I think also having like an experience where like you maybe didn't have a great experience and you learned from it. Mm-hmm. But my biggest thing is, I'm not going to lie, therapy helped me with building phenomenal relationships and truly learning how to communicate better.
Where did therapy show up in this journey?
When I was going through a divorce.
Okay. Now, when on the time?
Oh, so literally like 2 years before I was like, all right, I don't want to do weddings anymore. I want to like strictly move into branding. So if you really take a step back and look at it, weddings, like, it's the same thing. It's telling the couple's story, showcasing their personality throughout their wedding invitation, and then showing up on their wedding day paper. Because again, like, it's the couples, it's them. It's not, one of the biggest things that I would tell them is, don't do what everybody else is doing. Like, if you like showcase what you and your partner absolutely stand for. If that means you don't want to do a favor and you want to do a donation, love it. Yeah. If that means you don't want to do ceremony programs, not a problem. If that means you want to have a fun postcard RSVP telling your story because your invitation is a timeline of how you met and how you connected, let's do it. You want illustrations? That's what I stood for. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to take your story and tell that through your wedding invitation.
Oh boy, don't say story to Matt.
I know. It's really like you're a storyteller. Yeah. Like, so that's kind of like when it comes to like your business and working with these people, it's also understanding, okay, where have they been before? If it's a new business, you're still going to ask, okay, where have you been? Where have you started? Because there's a piece of you somewhere that you did start doing what you love to do. Yeah. You just didn't think that you could do it in a business.
Or it's the reverse, where it's the reason why you started the business because you don't want to be doing that thing anymore, that driver.
Or you worked with somebody who just said, yeah, like you should do it, go for it. And there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
oh my God, I'm like made of questions right now.
I know I have a lot too.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
I want to bounce back if you're okay to talk about the therapy journey, because I think that's such a stigma too. Yeah. Even still, like we're all getting better about talking about our experiences with therapy, but I think that's such a critical thing. And the way that you said it has impacted how you moved forward in your business, I think is critical.
100%. So flashback to when I started my business. Keep in mind, this is like 2009, 2010. Okay. Hustle culture, grind. If you're not showing you're busy, you're not
cool.
Yeah.
Right?
And like,
you are not successful.
Then you don't know what you don't really want it.
Yeah.
Hustler era. Yep.
My gosh.
Yep.
The girl
boss bitch, all the things.
Oh, gosh, yes.
As I sit here sipping from my boss lady.
Exactly.
But I mean, in a way that helped move me to find more meaning into what I wanted to do. So therapy, it was, again, from a traumatic experience, but I leaned into it because I saw that there were so many benefits happening for me. And when it came to even just like my business, I was like, this is phenomenal because I don't have to work 24/7. So when I decided to restart my business, I set it with the intention that this is going to be on my terms. This is not going to be a yes to everybody that comes to me. This is not going to be I have to work 24/7. This is going to be, I'm going to say no because my yeses are going to mean way more. And I'm going to align with the people I want to work with. And it's going to just attract those souls that vibe with me and make me feel good and appreciate not just my work, but who I am as a person.
Did that scare you at all? To feel that like intentional about it? Like, were you nervous about getting enough clients to survive, we'll say?
Yes. And here's the thing. I also work a full-time job.
Okay.
So like the fact that I was able to set those terms was because I have a full-time job. But my intention with setting that was I want to determine I want to define what success means for me. Like my goal is to have my business be full-time. And if I want to work at like a coffee shop for funsies, then I will, because I love coffee. But success is just so much more important as far as when you define it versus what everybody else is telling you what success is. And I think I got to that point because of therapy. Yeah. Because I was able to learn more about my patterns and who I was as a person.
Doing that inner work, my friends. Yep.
And it doesn't stop. Like, it really doesn't. Like, and I'm not here to say that, like, I'm never perfect. I never was. But there's days where I'm like, I should be working more.
Right. How do you beat that mentality?
That's when I have to lean into it. And I actually lean into, no, I think I need to rest. Because if you're not resting, you're not allowing yourself the space to get that surge of like filling your cup back up and having the ability to then be more creative or support other people.
I hope everyone out there is listening so hard to what you're saying. It's so important. It's so critical. And it's one of the hardest things to do as a business owner because you feel like if you're not constantly nurturing your business, it's going to fail. It's like feast or famine, right?
Yes.
You feel like it's going to fail. It's going to blow up in your face. If I would have just worked that extra hour, if I would have just done this or that, whatever, you just feel like almost this guilt in a sense and this nervousness because you're only relying on yourself for the most part.
Yes.
So.
But I will say, like, to play devil's advocate a little bit, because I think that it is also, it's not black and white. It's not like, I need to rest. Let me rest.
Right.
It's also like, there are plenty of times where you will not feel like it.
Yes, but you have to do it.
You gotta show up.
You gotta
that's very true. That's a very
put your pants on
important
and
distinguish.
do something.
100%.
That to me is the fine line. And there's so many people that are like, I deserve rest. I was like, just do the work. Just do the work. When you're tired, yes, rest. But like, just inserting rest constantly in your routine.
I mean, and sometimes you can say the reverse, that that's an excuse or like a fear mechanism, right? Right. Like, oh no, I am tired, so I'm just gonna like back off. Like you don't want to take the leap and do the thing. So to your point, it is a balance.
It's so difficult. It never gets easier. But there's a huge part of it where it's like, it is a reality that you have to do the work when you don't want to. You have to get up when you don't want to. You have to do so much that you don't want to. And one of the things I know for me that I don't want to do is rest.
Well, I can relate to that.
Absolutely.
I can relate to that.
I can relate to that.
As a fellow 4:30 a.m. wake up person at this point, I get it.
That is one of the things that it has made it easier for me to rest by being like, oh, I can show up and drive to Rochester in a day and come back and do all this. Like that to me is now the easy part. The slowing down is the difficult part. Yes. I need to frame it as that's now the thing that I don't want to do. And I need to force myself to do it. Like,
interesting.
Stop
reversal.
putting it stop putting it as like good or bad or rest.
Yeah,
right.
Rest or
do
active.
what you need to do.
Like, you know, that producing something is good. Like producing rest is good.
Yeah.
And that's how I need to kind of go about.
To reframe.
You know, like I think that's a very important conversation and dialogue that people have. Do you think you could work with your brother in a business?
My brother is a very different person.
I
love him, but no. So for the listener, my brother is a gym teacher in high school, so he is not. Yeah, that's not going to happen. He would be like, it'd be like a group project where he'd be like, you can do it all. Yeah. Like he would sign up maybe and say yes.
I have 9 siblings. Not one of them I would choose.
I mean,
you're brave.
That's so.
That was
huge.
a choice.
My family owned a restaurant.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was immersed with working with family. I'm talking like my mom and my uncles, so my cousins. Yeah. When I was working at that restaurant with my brother, we were not like
simpatico.
You know, he'd pop his head out from the kitchen window and be like, "Lose the tune," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Go back to cooking the pasta, dude."
Right,
like, you know. So, but I think that I also would go into the walk-in cooler, have a little cry.
Yeah.
You know, you're back out.
You're average Thursday. No problem.
Yeah. We all have one of those areas.
So, I mean, I think that, that also helped me with my business because
you can deal with a lot, I'm sure.
Dealing with like
personalities and family and
being in managing customer service
too. Yeah.
Being a waitress, like I truly think everybody should be
everyone should have a service job at some point.
Yes.
Period.
1,000%.
Everybody should work in either a restaurant or in retail. And
and I did
one or
both,
the other.
Let me tell you.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like what it does for like
so
building
beneficial.
callus.
Yeah, no, for real. It's not even just the
it's like the skills too.
It is.
It like toughens you up. You're just like, oh, this is how I manage a difficult situation, or this is what it feels like to help somebody. It like puts you in every single
or when someone yells at you.
Yeah, like you just.
It's a foray into the public sphere. Of like, oh, people behave this way sometimes. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You cannot shock me anymore.
Yeah.
You cannot shock. I mean, maybe a mother of the bride could shock me still. But.
I was going to say.
But
it feels like that's what people think college should be. College is like, get you ready for the real world. College doesn't fucking do any of that.
It does not.
Because you go to a college
no real life experience.
Feel like, you're living with people who think like you and look like you and act like you. And it's like, no, nobody's pushing you really. But then getting a job in the service industry, that's like, this is what it really is like. Like some people are the worst or some people are the best. And it's amazing to feel that, to feel those highs and lows and to be like, oh, this is what it feels like to have somebody call you desperate for an outfit and you help them and maybe they came back the next day and they were like, this is so great. Or like, at a restaurant, like you're the place that they chose to have like the funeral services or something like that. Like little things like that. You're just like, that's humanity.
Yeah.
That breaks it down.
That's real life.
Oh my God, again, so many questions. For the dum-dums like me, there's not many. I'm probably the only person. Can you elaborate? What is creative design?
No, creative services.
Creative services.
I want to know your definition because I have what I think is a definition, but I want to know what is kind of encompassing.
So creative services to me is anything from brainstorming with someone. So having like a brainstorming session. I tie in the graphic design because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with graphic design. They think that it's going to be somebody who's gonna, dictate what they need to like how they need to do it, stuff like that. So I kind of bundled like a lot of things under creative services. I'm talking like email support, marketing, like launch support, and whether it's social media, it's digital, it's print. It's this just big bucket of things that I can help people with. So when it comes to creativity, it's, let's say you want to create, well, not you because you would do it, but like I have a client that's like, I want to have swag for like my employees. Like I want them to have like a sweatshirt or long sleeves with our logo on it. Okay, like creative services, that's also me taking a step in and thinking, okay, how can we make this look aligned with what type of business you are? Like you're a med spa, you're not going to wear a hoodie or a sweatshirt, but maybe like outside, but when you're there. And what else can we tie into that? The whole experience of tying your branding back to it too. So that's what I kind of like envision as far as like, or how I define creative services.
Very cool.
How do you deal with people who want to be a little too hands-on? Or is there such a thing for you?
So,
and do you like that or do you not? Like, there's some people.
I mean, depending on like what the project is, really like, especially when it comes to like the brand strategy and like defining and developing their strategy and then their identity. So keep in mind, like the identity is like your logo, your fonts, your colors. And you're not going to have that until you have your strategy, because your strategy is who are you talking to? What are you trying to achieve? How are you going to help them? Like that's your foundation. Yeah. I need my clients to be hands in. I need them to be like, I don't need them to be like totally like in the deep end with me, but it helps when they are because
you need them to give you something as like a launch pad to jump off.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like if someone's like, I don't really know who my client is. I'm like, okay, like well, then we need to do some homework.
We need to do this first.
Yes. And if I have people who are like, okay, this is what I was doing, but this is what I want to do. Again, like you have to give me something. It's kind of like that whole saying, like, help me help you.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. So what was the question? I can't remember.
That was it. I mean, just, how hands-on or hands-off do you like people to be? Because I know a lot of times, especially when we're talking about design elements, particularly my husband's a graphic designer, and there are times where people give him nothing, and he's like, I need something.
Yes.
But then there are other times where people are like, well, just do it like this and move this line here and do the. And he's like, no, like this is, you hired me to do a job and let me do my job because there's a reason why this goes here and that goes there and this goes here and that goes there. Yeah. So there's a fine line. Yeah. And it's a lot of balance.
What I've realized is sometimes you have to give them what they're asking for, but also show them the better option, because a lot of people are visual. Like I'm visual. I need to see something. Like I'm like, okay, I gotta just draw this out, like just rough. Like if it's gonna, that way I can just visually be like, oh, that looks horrible before I like dive into it. You have to show people what they think they want, because then when they see it, they're like, oh. And then, and then you say, well, here's this.
I also worked up this.
Yes.
Little edits to these things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's
Oh, can we talk about fonts real quick? This is just a funny one. Yeah. How do you feel about fonts? Tell me everything.
Fonts. Okay, I have an obsession.
List your favorites.
It's not as bad.
And have you seen the papyrus sketch from SNL?
I think I have. I can't remember.
Ryan Gosling.
Oh yes. So, I mean, as a graphic designer, I have fonts that I don't love.
Yeah.
Comic Sans, Papyrus, Times New Roman.
Yeah.
And then there's fonts that like I absolutely love, but then like I think like everybody like uses them.
Well, name the font.
Well, play for a display, and like I use that, and then I always literally murder the name, but Montserrat or whatever. But it's a lot of people use it. But again, it's like those. There's a reason why.
There's an attractiveness.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's those clean. They pair well together, and you want that. When you have fonts that like compete with each other, when you go to create something, what are people looking at? Like, where's the hierarchy in the design? But yes, I've done really well with not buying that many fonts. I used to be really bad back in the day when I had wedding invitations, because I was like, oh, this is so pretty. This is swirly. And I think I spent most of my money on fonts and coffee.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's like just coffee.
I feel like that's a a business name in the future.
Oh,
Sponsored Coffee.
Hey, maybe that'll be my podcast.
Right?
Yeah, that actually would be.
Yes.
Oh, Sponsored Coffee.
All right. You're welcome.
Trademark it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about this. I started to realize the more I got into fashion that the seeds were planted for storytelling back when I was a kid with movies and TV. I loved movies and TV. I loved how the story was told, but I also loved wardrobe. Darth Vader walks on the screen, you know he's a bad guy just by looking at him.
Yes.
Don't need to know motivations or anything. The Emperor, you just know he's a bad guy. You know, there's something so iconic about the way people dress in film. And I realized later on that that's where that came from. Where, for you, can you pinpoint, can you generally see, like, how were you able to kind of pull out people's voices, pull out people's intentions? Like, what were the seeds that were laid early on for you?
It's a great question.
Those you only kind of have.
You're fired.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a chip on your shoulder? Right? Just kidding. You can keep it down.
It's hard to show.
Yeah.
I've always been an empath. And I think that that's truly for a reason.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to just sit and really connect with people, but I'm not a surface level person. Like, I love those deep conversations. Don't get me wrong, like, surface level is fun because you need that.
Yeah.
But it's that depth and that connection. And I think it all started with just the fact that of how I was raised, like, and just truly being around a family that had that big connection. Like, we spent Sundays together. Like, my nonna,
I was just gonna say, are you Italian?
Yes.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. So, like, my
Preach.
my nonna, like, she watched us, like, literally, like, 8 grandkids, like, and just that's what it was for me. It was like that connection. Like, my cousins were my best friends.
Yeah.
Like, and I was with them we were together all the time. We fought over Legos.
Yeah.
My grandma, like, my nonna literally had to, like, I'm pretty sure she, like, yeeted them out somewhere. Or my uncle hid them at one point, and we all were, like, really sad about it.
Yeah.
But I think it was just then that I loved that connection. I loved even the story that the stories my family had. You know, my family coming over here. I'm first generation here. So, like, seeing them really dive into just working hard and their work ethics and being raised like that. That's just kind of what tied me to connecting with people. I don't think I'm not like it's funny because, like, I don't consider myself like an artistic person. Like, I'm creative because I can visualize things and I have visions and I can really help connect the dots for people. And so I don't think it, like, any of that, like, started for me when I was younger. Again, I was the one collecting plates and napkins. So keep that in mind.
Right.
But I think it was just the fact that I loved connecting with people and hearing what they had to say and truly listening to their story. And maybe it was because I loved to talk, but I loved to talk to certain people. It wasn't everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked for, I don't know, months on Instagram, just going back and forth. And we're finally like, let's get coffee.
Yes.
And we did. We went to Deep River Roasters and their second location in Deep River. And what would you say? 2.5 hours?
Yeah. 2.5 hours.
Easily?
Yes. Just yapping away.
Yeah. Nonstop. People came for breakfast, then they came back for lunch.
Yeah.
We were still there.
Yep.
Just going in.
Definitely done that before.
But yeah, it was definitely, and it felt very like old friends.
Yeah.
Just kind of low barriers. I don't need to keep my walls up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a astounding skill that not many people have, to just make you feel
like this, almost like a safe space, for lack of a better
term.
But
and again, honestly, like, therapy got me there, because I realized that I needed to, like, have a safe space for myself.
Yeah.
And in order to have that, I wanted to make sure that I was that for other people too.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you had some of that growing up, like as you were just in your formative years, like were people very generally open and talkative with you? Were you that person then, or did that kind of develop over time?
I think it developed over time. Yeah. I think like growing up, I think like my parents spoke Italian on purpose that like we wouldn't hear things, you know, and then like I purposely was like, what'd you say? Like, I want to know. Yeah. I was also like that nosy. I'm not going to say nosy. I'm inquisitive. I'm the inquisitive.
Oh, I'm damn nosy.
I'm an inquisitive Scorpio. So
Oh, you're Scorpio?
Yes.
I'm a Cancer. We're friends.
Yes, we are.
I'm a Pisces, if that means.
No, you're a water sign, so I vibe with you. Okay. My mom's a Pisces, so yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't know what any is.
You don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
He's like, I'm a Pisces.
Where are your placement conversations?
Yeah.
Let's get some crystals.
Am I cool?
Got it.
Yes, give me the woo-woo shit.
Yeah, we'll do the woo-woo.
But I think it developed more over time because I think that there were experiences I had where I definitely was closed off. And I was, I kept to myself. But I realized that wasn't doing anything good for me. And I realized that like that connection was needed.
Nice.
How often are you talking to a client, business owner, and you're talking to them about what they want or whatever? How often does something come up that they say that you're like, oh my God, I learned about this in therapy. Like I can say this to them. Or how often are you thinking, here's kind of like the professional black and white kind of way to go about it? Like, are you trying to connect what the client wants to like a deeper meaning in yourself?
I think that I intentionally work with clients that I vibe with. So the ones who aren't afraid to speak and like share parts of themselves that they maybe wouldn't share with others. Because here's the thing. People want to see like the real you. Like nobody wants, like, yes, black and white needs to happen when it comes to like being professional. There's definitely like those times when like you need those boundaries, and it's hard to like be like, separate as a business, be like, no, like you have to do this in order for me to do this. Like otherwise we're blocked. Like we can't move forward. But I think that when you connect with a business owner on that, even just like personal level, like even if it's like, hey, what's your favorite color? I mean, even though it feels like dating, but like it's just getting to know them a bit more, because then you're starting to see reasons why, like, okay, why they do what they do, who they're really trying to work with. And it's, for me, I'll share pieces of myself so that they feel comfortable. They don't ever have to feel like they need to, but it usually, most 99% of the time, they're sharing something in like a struggle or being like, oh my God, like I love that. Like, yes, or I did that and that worked for me, or, oh, I didn't do that and I wish I did. Like, that's what I enjoy about my business. Yeah.
Like I love that. I do the same thing with mine a lot, because I really want there to be human connection.
Yes, the human part.
And have a common ground. The common ground is not that you need clothing from me.
Right.
The common ground is not that you need creative services from you.
Right.
The common ground is that we're both people.
Yeah.
And can we help each other?
And like you said, you vibe with them.
Yeah.
You're already at a better positive jump off point.
Yeah.
Because you have a little bit of an unspoken or spoken connection.
Yes.
Because there's some common ground, there's some common like outlook on life, let's say, or you know what I mean? It's just like, you're going to get along, that the process is going to be that much easier.
And the biggest thing for me too is like, if someone comes to me and they're like, hey, like, I think I want to, I'd love for you to create like some social media templates for me. Like, yeah, okay, cool. We talk about it, blah, blah, blah. If they're like, you know what, like I started doing some of it myself, and I think I'm good. Like, maybe in the future I'm like, yeah, cool.
No hard feelings.
Like, love it. Cool. Like, I'm like, I love to see that. Like, if something inspired you, or like even having that conversation with me triggered something in you to be like, you know what, I want to give this a go. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want to be like your hype girl. I want you to be like, yep, I could do this. Because the biggest thing is like, if you don't believe you deserve it, then
who's gonna believe it for you?
Yeah, like who's gonna?
I love that, because that's very similar to like why I named my company Bards, is because I want to tell your story, but then I want you to have the understanding about yourself so that you can tell your story. That's why it's Bards, multiple, plural, not ownership.
Yep.
So there's no apostrophe S. But this is always a tough position for business owners. The amount of their own personality, their own background.
Especially in creative field.
How much of that, I know there's no perfect recipe. Do you think overall businesses should do more of it, should do less of it? What are certain things?
So meaning my personality?
No, the business owner's personal life, personal story, personal, because sometimes you go on a company's website and it's I started this because my child died and I needed something.
Right.
And then they talk a lot about that. Or you follow some people on Instagram and it's a lot of their personal life is in there. I do a lot on my Instagram.
Yeah.
For Bards because I want people to see he is still going to local coffee shops. He is I want people to see that I walk the walk and talk the talk. This is what shopping local and shopping your brands and your values, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
So I do it to show people. But I guess I'll keep going a little bit more because one of the other really important things that I have found is that, and I think as a creative person in creative services, you'll kind of resonate with this, is that I have this giant scar on my forehead, and I know that clients sitting down see it. And so I'll usually pretty early on in the conversation bring up the fact that I'm sober. Because I'm let's just get this on the table.
Yeah.
I want you to know that. And I've got some stuff in my showroom that has to do with being in AA or something like that. I'm I do it in a way of here's a little bit of me. Here, it's not perfect. It's not pretty. It's not clean, but it's me. So what about you?
Right.
And it really opens up a lot more. I literally had this guy the other day, I think we talked for an hour and a half about his last relationship and his divorce and his kids and how he this and that. And I was just oh my God, there's a lot. But it all came from just me being I said something because it was an early, a 8 a.m. Sunday appointment or something like that. And he was I can't believe I'm here. I was me either. Back in the day, I never could have done this. And he was oh man, me too. I'm so glad we're done with that phase of our life. And I was yeah. And so I started talking about being sober. He's not, but we know that party lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so we starts going on, but he ended up coming in for one thing and got something completely different and opened up in ways. He came in for he was I just, on his intake form, he was I just need a good suit.
Yeah.
He left with a very creative, fun suit and a safari coat and all this fun stuff and all this personal, it was so much more about who he is. And I think a lot of that really stemmed from just me being I'm a recovering alcoholic and I've had these issues and whatever else. And I don't think any of it's on my website, but, it made me think of it what level of your own personal story should be in your brand story.
So I think, and there's, again, going back to, you even said it before, it's that human connection.
Yeah.
And when you share something about yourself, you're creating a space for another person to feel like they can share something with you. They're not everybody's going to.
Right.
But as far as your personal story, you are your brand. I'm not saying you need to have this plethora of information my website. It's not gonna say on there Barbara's divorced and you know what I'm saying. Instead, I'm going to pinpoint the things that I'm a mental health advocate. I want people to know that if they're struggling, come to me. I'm not going to talk about it when I'm going through it because I'm going through it. But afterwards, I want people to feel like they're not alone.
Yeah.
So because again, people are buying from people.
Yeah.
Your brand is a representation of who you are and what you stand for, but they're not going to buy from you just because of your name. Let's put it this way. We're not Nike. Nike's been around for years, decades. People buy because it's been around that long. So yes, people buy because of Nike and the brand awareness they have. And, and then there's people who are brand loyal. But when it comes to smaller businesses, you have to share pieces of who you are, because again, that's usually like why you started your business.
Right.
Which is what people got into Nike for in the first, you know what I mean? Like it all started somewhere.
It all starts somewhere.
You have to create that shift and that buy-in from people to want to work with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Simon Sinek says it all the time. He's like, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Exactly.
Like that's a huge part of this.
Yep.
And it's just like your comfort level. Again, like you don't have to share everything. Right. Like social media, like when people are like, oh, it's not real life. It is, because it's what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like I share what I want. So like you're seeing what I want you to see.
Yeah.
And there's times where I am going to share like the moments where I'm struggling. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep it real in a sense of like, okay, like I had a week where I was like, a couple months ago, I was like, am I doing good? Like, should I keep doing this?
Yeah.
And like a couple of people reached out and they're like, thank you for posting that, because I feel that way.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm glad you did, because now I don't feel like I'm alone.
Yeah.
And that's, again, like I don't want people to feel like they're alone.
Yeah. I remember that post. That was just very impactful. But no, I hate the social media isn't real life people. Like I
don't get it. If you're feeling that way, then you're not being real.
Like social media, it's 2024. It's no longer a trend. It's no longer a fad. It's no longer this thing, this option. It's a part of life. It is a part of our everyday life, whether we like it or not. And the same way, getting dressed isn't real life. I'm presenting what I want you to see.
Yeah.
Like, where does that logic end? It's like
social media isn't the be all end all. Like, and if you're only relying on social, like
define you.
That's like, and if you're only using social for like that external validation, and like, if people are like, oh, I'm not getting, conversions. I'm like, well, what other things are you doing? Like, are you going out and networking? Are you reaching out to people? Are you reaching out to build a relationship with a person before you pitch your services? Yeah. Because here's the thing, that's going to give me the ick.
Yeah.
The minute you slide into my DMs and you're like, oh, I saw that you just started working out again. I can be your personal trainer.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Because you don't even know my story.
Right.
Like
we have no basis of rapport here.
Right. Like unless I reach out to you and be like, hey, like I'm starting to work out again. Would love to like maybe hear about your services. Like are you taking new clients? When I'm initiating that, but like when someone's sliding into my DMs and
like
literally doesn't even follow me, but liked my 3 pinned posts. I'm
the best are do you guys get the emails where it's like, oh, we saw your Instagram is so great and you're a great seamstress and we can help you get a bajillion more followers in 100 hours.
I don't want more followers.
Yeah. And it's always like, hello, Demelis. Like, it's not even your name.
Well, they've gotten pretty good. I have to say, I've gotten some goodies, but there are some that are like very cryptic and very
and I get like the ones for like my website. They're like, oh, your web, and I'm like, just go away.
Oh, we can increase your web traffic.
I'm like, shush. I'm like, spam.
Yeah. They're like, would you like 100 new 1,000 transactions a day? I'm like, no. What?
I don't.
What? No, not at all. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. Right?
Like, again, I'm not Nike. Literally. Like, I can't do that. That's insane.
Yeah.
What, so where is your business now and where do you see it going?
My business right now is, I feel like, in a really great place. Okay. And that could also be because I just got back from Greece and I feel refreshed and recharged.
Ready to attack again. I love it.
But I feel like I had a really great year business-wise. Planting the seeds in years past, staying connected with past clients as well. But also, one of my goals is always like to have at least 1 or 2 pro bono clients. So I like to also give back to my community. So that's my intention. Like my business success is tied into the fact that if it makes me feel good and I'm doing good, then I'm happy. Yeah. Like then that makes me feel like, sweet, okay, like this is worth it.
That's, I'm a huge fan. Melissa knows this. I'm a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he talks a lot about his early days, about how he owned a real estate company back in the day. which allowed him to hold out for the parts that were really meaningful. Because he was offered like bouncer and Nazi officer and all this. And he was like, no. And all of a sudden, like, Conan the Barbarian comes around and he's like, this I can do because it's going to be meaningful. And Terminator comes around. This is what I can do. It can be meaningful. Like, I love that same approach. Like, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger so much.
Well,
yes.
More than Batman?
Well, he was in Batman, so does that count? He was in the worst one.
Yeah, but again, more than Batman?
Yeah, he was in the George Clooney one, which was...
Poor George.
George. Those were dark days.
Dark days.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's funny, even like him talking about that, Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about being in that movie, he was like, he said that Joel Schumacher, the director, was basically like, if you don't play Mr. Freeze, we're not going to make this movie. And I think a lot of that comes from 2 decades of him being intentional about his roles. You get that reputation that Arnold's not just showing up for anybody. And I think that you're doing something very similar, which is like, I don't just work with anybody. Oh. We have to vibe. We have to blend. I don't want to just take a job to do something to pay my bills.
No, because, and I get it that I'm privileged that I work a full-time job so that I'm able to say no to other things. But again, like from years of experience of just being like, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do this. Oh, sure, I'll do this show. Sure, I'll do this for free. Yes, I'll do that. When you spread yourself so thin, like, again, that's a learning experience.
Right.
And I learned so much that I was like,
and there are some people who love that. They thrive.
Yeah.
And they're ready for, because we know, like, when you start that small business, a lot of times
you are saying
yes to a lot. You are maybe spreading yourself too thin. Yeah. You're really working hard to make those connections and bring people into the fray. But that's you look at it as the investment, the means to an end. Yeah. Because nobody really wants to do that unless you're Matt, maybe for the rest of your life.
Right.
Weirdo. But it's the means to an end. It's the means to being able to say no to certain jobs that you don't want, whatever. Yeah. So you found a different balance that works for you and that allows you to keep that positive exchange and experience for both yourself and your clients, as well as keep, I'm sure, a good demeanor in your full-time job.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's very important. One of the reasons I also bring up the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing is that people glamorize the entrepreneurial life, that you're just like, burn the boats, like I just jumped off the cliff and I did it. Yes, that can work for some people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be the only way.
Right.
But there's other things that you can do. And like, same thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not like a struggling actor. He's one of the biggest actors of all time. One of those famous people on the planet.
Everybody knows who
that's
he is.
An insane statement to make. And like you're doing the same framework as him. Like, yeah, I jumped off the cliff and I burned the boats and did all that. And like, part of me is kind of like,
the thing is you have to ask yourself one of the most hardest questions, and you have to be prepared to answer it. What do you want?
Yeah.
Truly, like, not what do you think this is, like, society wants you to do or wants you to have, but what is it that you want? Like, if we were to look at like a timeline, like, of course, like people are gonna be like, okay, you need to be married, have kids, have a family, like, listen, I went through a phase where I was checking things off, and that did not work well for me.
Yep.
And so I learned that lesson. And now I'm kind of like, you know what? If something's for me, it's not going to miss me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue working towards a goal or a dream that I have, but I'm just going to know and trust in the knowing that it's going to be mine.
Yeah.
I think it's also become so toxic that, like, that hustle culture and the, like, you have to want more. You have to know what's next and want what's next and push yourself and sacrifice yourself and this, that, and the third. And it actually struck me really deeply. Matt, you were with me. I had a conference for seamstresses in February. And one of the gals in attendance was like, I don't want to grow.
Yeah.
I have zero desire. She's not nearing retirement age. And she's like, I am satisfied. And I'm here because I have learned what I want and what I need. And I'm so inspired when I see all the rest of you. And I think that's great. And I have come to realize that none of that is for me. Mm-hmm. But I still want to be here and I still want to take in my community.
Wow. Yes.
But she said how she had in the past really struggled mentally with watching other people continue to put out and show out and hustle and grow and whatever. And she always had this thought of like, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Should I be doing these other things? Why don't I want this lifestyle? Da 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 da. And then there was that power in taking all of that back and saying, no, I'm good. Like, I have a great life. I make enough money. I have time with my children. I have just the right amount of customers that are my customers, and like pump the brakes.
Again, she defined what success meant for her.
Absolutely.
And that's powerful because, again, she's still surrounding herself with people who can inspire her. And I think that that's key. Like, even if you don't want more, you don't want to do what everybody else is doing, that's fine. But keep surrounding yourself with the people who are going to, like, who get it.
Yep.
That's one of the biggest challenges is like when you have people who don't get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh. And the best part of it all is none of it is permanent.
Right.
Nothing is permanent in this life.
So I want to
change.
So she could change her mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could change our minds.
Love that. Love that. Put that on repeat. Put that on a loop. Everybody needs to hear that.
Put it on a t-shirt.
I preach about that so much, about just nothing is black and white. Things are fluid. You can die on a cross on one day and then the next day be like, I was wrong. You know? You know.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Actually.
Yeah. I've changed my mind.
On that point.
Yeah.
And I do want to get a little bit deep on this question. And you've been so great being open about like kind of your business with your brother. You ended that. You got divorced. And this idea of like having a checklist, not, you've moved on. You're also not 21.
Thanks.
Wow.
But like
I'm not.
For the people who
News
are
to
out
me.
there who are in a rebuilding stage. Any words of advice?
Oh gosh. Again, like just don't be afraid to do the work. But like also therapy. Like I probably sound like a broken record, but therapy helped a lot.
Awesome.
Because I mean, I don't know whether to say I'm coming up or coming down, but I'm on the other side. I went through one of the most hardest years of my life. And back 7 years ago, I thought I was going through the hardest year of my life. And when I literally took a moment to say that out loud, I was like, whoa, every time I'm getting through it. And again, I had to accept the fact that what do I want? Like there's things that I want and I'm not getting those things yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be mine,
Right.
And the other thing was I just lost my train of thought. Crap.
That's okay. You're still amazing.
The whole thing of like two things can be truthful.
Yes.
You can be fully content with your life, but still want something. Like people are like,
and you can still not even know what that is.
Exactly.
But know that there's something out there for you.
Yes.
There's something more.
Like I truly want a house. Right now the market is just not in my favor, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with that. Like now it's just kind of like I get to just keep chilling with my parents.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Right. I get to chill with my parents more.
Yeah.
They're probably sick of me, but you know what? Hey, but it's fun because it's when I take a step back and I think about it and I say it out loud, I'm never going to have this time with them the same way I am right now. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm as somebody who like grew up with a very close family, like I love the fact that, I get to have dinner sometimes with my parents on the weekend.
That's awesome.
And then there's sometimes where I'm like, all right, I'm out. But like, I'm coming back. And I'm like, do you guys want ice cream? I'm like, oh, let's watch a movie.
Yep.
And then I also get to do that with like my brother and my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew, like just being able to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, it's like if I had my own place, I probably wouldn't be there that much to see that and experience
You're in a season of your life that you're able to do these really cool things.
Yeah. And like
it's special in a different way.
I had to embrace it because don't get me wrong. Like again, looking at it, it was hard for me because I was like, oh my God, I should be on my own.
Should be. Oh, you feel like it's a step back. You're going in the wrong
comparison
direction.
trap.
The comparison trap.
Look who else has this.
Fully kicked me on the ground.
Yeah. I love that idea of like going back to what do you want? Because for me, I get comparison thrust on me a lot where people look at my life and they're like, Matt, are you okay living in an apartment where you get stung by bees and you don't have hot water and you eat.
For the listener that doesn't know, Matt had a bee infestation.
Yeah. Like all of that shit is like not great in my life. It's not my priority.
That's how you frame it.
Love that I get to go experience the world and like go to Baltimore for 2 days, go to Rochester. That's my priority.
Yes.
Like that's what I see as winning, not I signed a lease on this. Like that to me is not winning.
The definition's different for you.
You know, like that I think is huge. And it is not something that I had for a long time. You know, my definition of winning was like so much of like, I need the house, I need the wife, I need the this. But then like, you know, same thing. Like when I went through like the hardest years of my life, which I'm sure there's still plenty down the road. And just because I got over it doesn't mean life is good. Just because I got over it doesn't mean I know everything now. Mm-hmm. It just was something that I went through, you know, and like I landed and I was like, oh, okay. So now I'm in like my early 30s. I'm single. I have a record. I'm a substance abuser. Like I've got all this, but fuck it. Like we move forward.
But flip the script.
We move on.
Right. You take it from like, those are learning experiences.
Exactly.
And like they shape who you are, but they don't define who you are.
Exactly.
And those are important things.
Yes.
You know, when you said that you felt like you had to like check the boxes too. Again, like, because think about like who we surround ourselves with. When we are constantly surrounding ourselves with people who are doing that or feel like they also have to be on a timeline.
Yeah.
And we kind of like distance ourselves, or like maybe you just grow apart and you start surrounding yourself with other people who are not doing what, let's say, society calls the norm, because also like what is normal. But
thank you.
When you know, like when you start connecting with other business owners that maybe are single or doing their own thing, are younger or older or had a different life journey, or there's people out there who are traveling the world and you're just like, I love that. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to realize, oh, my life doesn't have to look like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the Beavers, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
Yeah. I love it.
Amazing.
We could probably talk to you for 17 more hours.
I know. I was just gonna say, I love talking with you guys.
Honestly, like
I'm like, if we don't end it there, it never end. Which
God,
I'm fine
I don't
with,
want to. I want to ask so many more questions. This has been so amazing. Thank you. We've taken up too much of your time.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you both.
No, thank you, because this was not just important to get to know who you are, but it was a very insightful conversation, which I really appreciated.
On many levels.
Yeah, and I really think that what's important is that people get to see it's what your story is very important. But what we try to do here is how your story is woven together with all these other people, and it really shows like what makes us all up, and that's why we call this podcast The Fabric of America, because we are all woven together, and it really does bind us all together. So where can the listener find you on all the socials?
So you can find me on Instagram, AvantGarde Design. It's AvantGarde. Oh gosh, I just literally
GARDE.
DESIGN.
Start again. We'll cut that. Okay. Start again.
You can find me on Instagram at AvantGarde Design, AvantGardeDesign, or Barbie.Caruso. I'm not on Facebook.
Good for you.
Me neither. So
yeah, you're missing out on all the fun political memes.
Yeah, no.
Well, thank you so much again for coming. This has been absolutely amazing. And thank you to the listener for tuning in for another episode of The Fabric of America.